In this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you how to add a tab bar controller into your iOS app. So you might be wondering, what's exactly a tab bar controller? I can almost promise you've seen them in tons of different apps. So for example, Twitter, you can see it here at the bottom. A tab bar controller is just some buttons you can put at the bottom that when you tap on one, in this case the timeline, it shows all the timeline tweets. And then if you tap on notifications, like the whole top part switches out and a new part comes in, and you can have these little notifications here. But they're in tons of different apps, like the podcast app. There you can see which one's selected. Here it's in my podcast, now it's my stations. Apple Music app, thing there too, and the phone app on iPhones. It's everywhere. It's in tons of different apps. And the really cool thing is it's very simple to implement. Going through this tutorial, you're going to be like, holy cow, that was easy. What we're going to do is make a little dorky app that works kind of like a cat social network, and I'm just going to show how you can switch between the two tabs and how you can do some customization if you want to change colors on these, add your own images. We're going to talk all about that. So for this tutorial, I'm assuming that you have a base in iPhone programming, that this isn't your very first video you're watching. And if it is your first video, let me just take a second to show you where you could get some help. So my name is Nick Walter. Here's a little cheesy picture of me. I teach programming for a living, particularly iPhone programming. So if you brand new, don't know anything about it, and you want to get into it, please go check out one of my classes. I teach on Udemy. Here's a big list of them here. And the one I recommend is this iOS 9 class. So if you have no idea what you're doing, please go to ios9class.com. And I've included a coupon code to get it for only $49. It's usually $2.99, but use the coupon code TABBAR and you'll get it for only $49. So again, want you to go to ios9class.com if you have no programming experience. So assuming that you have some, we'll move forward. But if you don't, start there and you'll be ready to go. So with that, let's get to it, and let's open up Xcode here. Okay, and we're going to create a new Xcode project, and we're going to make it a single view application. So remember I said we're going to make this little like cat social network thing, so we'll just call it maybe like Meow Wow or something like that. Let's make sure we do it in Swift, and you can keep this on Universal or just iPhone. We're just going to be working with the iPhone side of things, and you don't need any of these checked. So we'll go ahead and hit Next, and we're going to put this on the desktop. And whenever I create a new project, this is just something I always do. I hit the play button just to make sure that everything's working. So we haven't added anything to this app, so we'll probably just get a white screen that pops up, but it's just something I always like to do, to just say, okay, I want to make sure at least things are running. And here we can see, the blank app, everything's working. That's awesome. So step number one for a tab bar controller, let's go to the main.storyboard, and I'm going to zoom out here just kind of by pinching on my trackpad on my laptop. We're going to get rid of this dinky old view controller that it gives us. And then we're going to come down here on the right side and scroll down till we get to tab bar controller. So do a click drag of it out to here, and you'll see, whoa, it brings a lot. So the way that a tab bar controller works is that there's the tab bar controller that then contains individual view controllers. Okay, so when we think back on like the Twitter app or something like that, like essentially what they have is a tab bar controller, which holds this, and then what's inside of here is just one view controller. When they tap on this, that's a different view controller. When they tap on this, it's another view controller. So kind of just to really show this off, let's go to this first view controller that it gave us, and we're just going to click up here to make sure we have the view controller selected, and then go down to its view. And for the background color, we're just going to change it to a crazy color like blue. Okay, and we'll zoom out a bit. We're going to come down here to our other one. Okay, item 2, double tap to zoom in a bit, and then we want to grab its view. Let's change its background color to something like green. Okay, so now that we have these two things done, one important step, please go to the tab bar controller, and once you have it selected, you need to make sure this little caret is picked, and then do is initial view controller. This says, okay, this is the first one that we want to show up in our app, because we deleted the old one that had the arrow pointing to it. So with that, go ahead and hit run, and let's see what we get. Okay, here it comes. And I think I have to click on the simulator. Here it is. So you can see we have the very first view controller here, the blue one, but we also have this little bar at the bottom that says item 1 and item 2. And if I click on item 2, whoa, there shows up the other view controller. Click on this, goes blue. Click on this, it goes green. So you can see how it's really, really easy to switch in between the two. And that's really all you need. Let's say you want to add another one onto this. So you just go to view controller, drag it on out here, okay? And then we're just gonna grab this tab bar controller, do a control drag over to here, and in the relationship segue, we want it to be one of the view controllers, like that. Okay, and now you can see there's item 1, item 2, and then also it says just item. So we'd maybe want to update this one to be like item 3 or something like that, but without even changing anything, we hit run, and you can see there's 1, 2, and 3, our 3 view controllers, and you can just keep adding them like that. It's very simple. So the next thing that we want to talk about is how can we customize these things? For example, you know, I don't want to say item 1, item 2, and this one here, and in fact, I'm going to delete this one because we don't need 3 view controllers for this tutorial. We just need the 2. But how can we go ahead and customize these things? So within each view controller, there's these tab bar items, and it's important to note that they're in there because you may go to this, you know, tab bar controller that you have, and you're like, hey, you know, where am I supposed to go and change, you know, the names of these things? They're inside of these view controllers. So for example, for the first one, right, you want to click on this little star thing here. That's the tab bar item, and as long as that's selected and you have this little caret picked here, you can do all the stuff that you want. So this is where you could come in and add a badge. Like if you do the number 1, you can kind of see it. The badge is the thing in red that says, you know, hey, there's something you should go check out in here. And it doesn't have to be numbers. You could do words like new, something like that. You see, that totally works. Other things you can do is add an image, and you can add your own custom image, or you can use ones that Apple has provided for you. So there's like more. Let's see, there's favorites if you like the star, featured, top rated, all sorts of things, contacts, and you can see it gives you the name and the picture. So something important to note, if you do use one of these like system icons here, these system items, whatever it is, you can't change the title of them. So down here in title, that's where you can change it. So if I say change this to like hello, you can see it gets rid of the little star that was there before, and it makes this one a custom one. So, and that's not terrible, but you know, if you already are going to use something that's like downloads or something like that, well, it's already got the image for you and the name, you might as well roll with it. But if you would like to go custom, this is where you can say like, you know, home, and then put up your own picture. Another thing you can do if you really want to get detailed here is you can do these custom offsets. So by doing this, you'll see as I move up the horizontal, this little guy is moving to the right. Isn't that cool? I can also do vertical offsets with stuff, like you'll change where that label is going, the home. So I don't recommend messing with those things, but if you'd like to get into that, that's how you can do that. So I'll just go to default for now. So for our cat app, we want the first one to be a system item, and we want it to be favorites. So we're just going to put that as favorites and not mess with it all. So the next one that we want to talk about is this guy here. So again, this is a cat app, so I'm very proud to show you this. I made my very own cat icon. Yes, you can add your own cat icons, or I guess whatever kind of icons you want, to your tab bar controller. So I'm going to minimize this. You can see a small preview of what I've created here in Sketch. I mean, I am terrible as a designer, but this is what I created. So anyways, let me talk a little bit about some requirements for those types of images. So the first thing is, when you're making these, you want to have a regular image and then a filled in image. So Apple kind of shows some great examples. And so the filled in one is for when somebody taps on something. So you'll notice, let's get back to these guys here. So you'll notice when something's selected, it fills the color of that thing. And if we go back to our app here, remember we have the favorites one here. So if we go ahead and run this, Apple does a great example of this. You can see when it's selected, it's blue and it's filled in, but when I select this other one, it's just the outline of the star. It's no longer filled in. So Apple does a really good job of talking about this inside of their iOS human interface guidelines. So if you can find this document, just Google this, then go down to under icon and image design, template icons. They kind of show you examples of like, this radio, when it's not selected, it's just kind of the outline, but once it's selected, we want it to be filled in. And they kind of show, this isn't always case, and this isn't always true for every case, but here we've got to put a circle around things, and in this one it would have looked weird if we put a circle around it or something, so we just kind of made the lines thicker for the selected one, and these ones we couldn't really do much, so we just had them filled in. So this is a great document if you're going to be creating an icon or you have a designer. Send them a link to this. And also in connection to this, under icon and image size, this talks about how big you should make them. So up here, this is saying, for iPhone 6 and 6S and iPhone 4S, iPad, all that stuff, about how many pixels these icons should be. Okay, so they're all listed there, and you want to make them black and white things. So it kind of works on a grayscale thing. So you can see with my cat pictures that I made. Let me minimize this stuff. I just made them black and white, and they'll just take whatever fill color it is. So, and if I did like a version of gray, it will fill in with the blue, but not as much with the blue kind of thing. I think you'll see as we put this up. So let's talk about how you can add your own images in there. So I'm going to open up my Xcode project and just slide it a little bit to the left. I'm going to take my two images here, and I guess maybe let me put it down because I want to put it over here. Okay, so I'm going to put those in there and have this be full screen again. So I have kind of the one where if it's not selected, but then if it is selected, I want it to be that one. So let's go back to the storyboard, and we're going to select, we want the item 2 tab bar item, and I'm going to come in here and say, I don't know, I'm going to call this one cat, and actually I'm going to call it cat settings, and in here for the image, I can say oval. Okay, and there's nothing special about the name oval. I probably should have named it something like cat, but I think the default name in Sketch, because I was using a circle at the beginning, was oval. So anyways, that's why that's named that. But hey, look, there's my little cat. And so if we go ahead and hit play here, you can see my little cat. And so you'll notice he's kind of grayed out like this, even though I had it black and white. Apple does some things to say what it should look like. And then when I select it, it fills it in with blue. So you can notice this isn't exactly following that pattern of where, if it's selected that it should be a different thing. So that's where you have to come to this selected image and put in that information. So I'm going to use selected oval for that one, and let's hit run and see what my cat looks like. Okay, so we have favorites. Now when I pick the cat, you can see, oh, this one has the mouth filled in and with the ears a little bit. So you can really tell that like that one's picked. So if I could go back and do this, I probably would have filled in the face more, but like my Sketch resources are really limited. Sorry, I wanted to show you the two on the desktop. But so you'll just notice the difference between these two. The selected one, I just put more black in there so that when it is selected, that blue shows up more. So that's pretty nifty kind of a thing, right? You see we go back and forth. That's how you can add your own images. But let's get back to Xcode here, and let's talk about, we can select the different images and stuff, but what happens if you want to put one of these little badges on, right? Like the number 1 to kind of show that they have like a notification or something like that. I'll show you how you can do that. Oh, and let me tell you something that will save you some hassle if you're doing stuff. So these oval things, or the images, whatever name you give it, go back to this human interface guideline where it talks about this, and it'll show you whether you should be using @2x or @3x or just the regular name of the file for stuff. So for most phones, you want @2x. If you're working with the iPad 2 or iPad mini, you want just the name, and then for any of the pluses, you want this @3x. So I just put the tag @2x after this, because without this, I didn't do this, and like the images were really small. Like inside of this, it was, like half the size of this. So just make sure you have that selected. Or I think they were bigger. I can't remember which, but it looked funky. So anyways, let's get back to the badge thing. And again, the badge is just saying that's that red stuff, that shows up if you want to kind of tell the user, hey, there's something that you should go check out. So to do this, inside of cat settings, I'm just going to add a button. So let's go ahead and find a button. And I'm going to double click to zoom in here. We got to be zoomed in to put it on. And we'll just put the title for this button, add notification. Okay, I did not spell that right at all. Notification. Just like that. Okay, so this guy, we want it to be centered. And we'll put you just kind of that space from the top. Keep your height and width, whatever you got. Okay, so we have this little button here, and now we have to make a view controller. We have, the storyboard view controller here, but we have to have a code view controller here so that when we tap on it, we can actually do something with it. So maybe let's just use this view controller that came by default here. So let's go back to the storyboard, and we'll say, this view controller is of class view controller, right? Just the name of this one. That's why I typed that. So now I can select this, do a split screen, and I will, I hate this function. It did receive memory warning. I'm just going to delete that and just do a control drag out into here. And we want to change this to action and say notification tapped. Oh, we want to do the full name, add notification tap. There's nothing special that like it has to be add notification tap, but that makes me know exactly what button was pressed. Now, maybe a little overkill because we only have one button inside of this tutorial, but good practice. So let's go back to full screen. Now look at this view controller, and once someone taps on this, this is where we want to add a badge to the featured page. Okay, and I probably misspelled featured at this point. I don't really care. So the question is, how do we access in code these little navigation or these tab bar items and add badges to them? Well, it's not too bad. So the way to access them is you say self.tabbarcontroller.tabbar, and make sure you just want this tab bar at the top, just straight up tab bar, and then .items. Okay, that was like a huge path to finally get there. And both the tab bar controller and the items that it produced are going to be optionals. So in a perfect world, you'd go through and do all sorts of checks to make sure that those things were working. But we're just going to put exclamation points and say, hey, we're sure that these optionals are here. So looks like this is frozen and it finally came back. So I'm just going to add those there. And what I'm going to do is just loop through these because it gives me an array and I need to find the specific one that I want. So I'm going to say for item in this array of items and go like this. And this way it will loop through each of the items. So for the time being, I'm going to say item.title, just like that. And I'm just going to print it out so that I can at least know what's going on here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and run this. And let's wait for the simulator to pop up. There it is. Let's go to cat settings. And when I tap notifications, you can see down here we have nil and then optional cat settings. So when you use one of the system ones, it doesn't have, the favorites, whatever there, which I think is kind of dumb. But I think the best way to know exactly which bar button item that you're working with is to go back to the storyboard here. And let's first go to, on the very first view controller, this favorites. If we go back to this little caret here, let's add a tag to it. So I'm just going to add the tag 1. And then on this guy here for this cat settings, I'm going to add a tag of 2. So by doing this, it's really easy now to go back to this view controller and just say if item.tag is equal to 1, then we know that we're talking about this is the featured item. Okay. So now that we have this, it's really easy to add the badge to it. So we can say item.badge value, and you can see badge value wants a string optional. So if you don't want anything in there, you don't want any badge, you can just pass it nil. But then if you do want something in there, like in this case, I think we should just say new. We'll put that. So let's go ahead and hit run here. Get our app to pop up. So here it is. I'm in the favorites. Oh, okay, whatever. Then I go to cat settings. I do add notification. Ta-da! Look at that. Isn't that cool? We just add a little badge to tab bar controller. Pretty neat, I think. So we've done that, but now the issue is if we go back to favorites, how do we go about clearing this? And it's going to be pretty easy. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy all this code because it's going to be very similar. And we have to make a code view controller for this first one here. We just have the storyboard one. We don't have one here yet. So let's just right click this, do add new file. Make sure you have iOS source selected, Cocoa Touch class. We want a UI view controller. I'm going to call this featured view controller. Add that to our project. And now that we have this, I'm just going to say on the view did appear, okay, this is where we're going to add the code to go ahead and get rid of that badge. So it's the exact same code, except for in here we're just going to say instead of the badge value being new, we're going to make it nil, just to say, hey, go ahead and get rid of that puppy. So now that we've done that, we need to make sure we go to the storyboard here and select this view controller and say that it is this featured view controller that we just created. So I'm just going to type featured, hit tab, it auto completes. Xcode, you're a beautiful thing. And then now let's hit run and see if our creation is working. So build succeeded. Open up the simulator here. I go to cat settings, add notification, new shows up. I click here, boom, it goes away. So obviously this is a very dumb example. If we have an app with one button that when you do it adds a notification, you click here and it gets rid of it. But you can see how you could use this pattern so that if someone's in another tab, you can add a badge to a different one that says, hey, there's something going on here that you might want to go check out. Like there's a notification or something new's happened. We need your input on this. I don't know what it is, but those are how you can kind of manage those badges. And again, I think the best way to, when you're looping through the code here, trying to figure out which tab bar item you're working with, I think tags are a great way to do that. So the last thing I want to talk about is just customization of the tab bar controller. So we're going to click on the actual tab bar controller and then here on tab bar and do this little caret here. And here, this is where you can do some really cool stuff with making it your own. So for example, the bar tint, you can make this whatever color you want. I'm going to make it this like salmon color type of thing. And you'll see when we change this that now it's that. Now you got to kind of be careful because you can make your app really ugly really quickly like this. This is about as ugly as it gets. If you want to change what the tab bar item icons look like, at least color wise, you can do this through a storyboard. You kind of have to go here and set like a tint color thing for like the runtime attributes. I'm really not a huge fan of that. I'll show you how to do it in code though. I think this is always really good. So go to your app delegate. I'm just going to put it here because this usually you only have one tab bar in an app, and this using this code it will make it true for all tab bars in your app. But anyways, you just do UITabBar.appearance and then you do .tint color and then you set that equal to whatever UI color you want. So I'm going to do UI color dot yellow color. Okay, so we go ahead and we hit play, and then now this will officially be the ugliest app in the world. Okay, this bright yellow, the salmon pink, and the blue. Same goes for this light green thing here. So there's a lot of damage that you can do really quickly if you get into customizing this type of stuff. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial on tab bar controllers. Again, my name is Nick Walter, and I'd love it if you'd go and check out some of the classes I teach. Just go to Udemy and search for Nick Walter. I do iPad classes, iPhone, Apple Watch, just Swift. So anything that you're interested, hopefully I have a class for you. So thanks a ton for watching. If you like this, please subscribe and give me the thumbs up. We'll talk to you later.